deepfakes, including their beneficial uses and the role of intellectual property rights and legal measures. Our speakers for this session is Mr. Pranit Biswas, a managing associate and advocate at SS Raina & Co. With a master's degree in IP law from the National Law University in India and 8 years of experience in IP practices. He handles complex trademarks cases for Fortune 500 companies in India and SAIRS countries. He is a member of IBA and IMTA, a prolific writer on IP topics, and actively contributes to the firm's thought leadership.
Good afternoon, everyone. Firstly, I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to GIPC for extending the invitation to us and for hosting us in this wonderful city of Istanbul. It has been an absolute pleasure to visit this city, and we hope to continue attending future GIPC events in future. Thank you. So, today's topic of discussion is revolving around deepfakes. Deepfakes are something which probably all of us sitting in this room right now have been exposed to. In the previous session, there was we had a very interesting quiz about intellectual property. So for example, if I were to take a similar quiz and ask everyone sitting in this room, if one were to hear the word deepfakes, whether they have a negative perception of this or a positive one. So if I were to ask all of you right now, if someone is talking to you about deepfakes, would you have a negative reaction to that or a positive one? So I'm sure most of you will have a negative one. So it would be my aim today to see if I can shed somewhat of a positive light on deepfakes. Because it is something which, while obviously has a lot of negatives, it has a lot of positive potential as well, especially for brands and celebrities. So without further ado, I will proceed with this topic, and I hope you find this presentation to be helpful. Given that all of us are lawyers in this room, I'm sure deepfakes is something which is pretty self-explanatory when it comes to the definition. It is basically born out of deep learning and fake. So because it is a concept which has not been there for a very long time, it is something which has been in discussion in all of our countries, whether it is India or Turkey or Germany or Indonesia. We have all been exposed to this. Especially in this day and age of social media, we have been exposed to deepfakes a lot, especially through social media like Instagram or websites like YouTube. Unfortunately for all of us, deepfakes are majorly used either for malicious activities or for spreading misinformation and creating problems. So, one of the major issues surrounding deepfakes today is that we live in a world where it is very difficult to differentiate between what is a deepfake image or video between what is a real image. Initially, when the concept of deepfakes, it was first popularized, I would say in the early to mid 2010s. They were initially used for harmless purposes. Things like face swapping, pranks, using on social media. However, over the years, because of huge advances in deepfake technology, we have seen a lot of negative uses such as in politics, for terrorism, for spreading misinformation or fake news. The problem lies with the fact that algorithms have become far more sophisticated than how they were in the early 2010s, which allows for more seamless and convincing manipulations of videos and images. As of now, the realism of deepfakes has increased to a very terrifying level, and it has become extremely difficult to differentiate between what is real and what is fake. Interestingly, I in fact came across this article in a leading Indian newspaper, the Economic Times, just a few months back in April, that 75% of Indians, and it is important to keep in mind that we have a population of over 1.4 billion. So out of that 1.4 billion, 75% of Indians, they have viewed some deepfake content in the last 12 months, which is a very staggering amount. And we have recently had elections as well, so this assumes great importance. In addition, another newspaper, the Indian Express, they had reported that almost 86% of Indians, they believe misinformation and harmful deepfakes will affect elections, which were recently concluded just this month. While we're on the topic of politics and how deepfakes can affect not just brands and celebrities and normal people like all of us sitting in this room, it has a very insidious role to play in politics. For example, if you can see from the images on the screen right now, many of you will recognize the faces on display, and these are the ones which have seen a lot of flack coming their way because of deepfakes. For example, in Indonesia, just like India, there were elections this year. So what had happened was a politician who was a part of the Golkar party, they had created and disseminated a deepfake of the authoritarian president Suharto, urging voters to vote for the political party. And unfortunately or fortunately, however you want to look at it, depending on political affiliations, it had a very devastating effect. Millions of voters were exposed to such propaganda. So it goes without saying that deepfakes, while we will discuss the positives, they have such negative attributes which just cannot be ignored. While we start talking about the various issues surrounding deepfakes, the first one which comes to mind is ownership. Just in the preceding panel, I am grateful that the preceding panel reflected upon this aspect about ownership regarding works created by artificial intelligence. In the previous panel, we heard about how intellectual property ownership goes about in AI created works. So that is something I will gloss over for now for the interest of time. So besides ownership, one thing which is of great importance is morality, because on a scale of morality, deepfakes can hover from one extreme to another. Remuneration is something which does not have a set standard when it comes to deepfakes at this time. Because royalty considerations regarding deepfake content when it is authorized is something which has not really seen a lot of development, or neither a lot of cases which are reflected upon what is adequate remuneration regarding deepfake content. Moving on to a bit more positive applications of deepfakes. So artificial intelligence and content created by AI, they have a lot of applications, and there is a vast potential for tapping into the services, the end product which is offered by deepfake software. Whether it is the media industry, whether it is education, whether it is art, all of them, they have been touched by deepfake technology, and yes, there are indeed very positive applications of such software and such concepts. For example, there was a company called Trademark. It's based in the UK, I believe, which uses technology to create digital voices for those who do not have a voice. And one very positive application of deepfake technology was regarding, in fact, the Star Wars movie franchise. So if there are any Star Wars fans out here, they will remember that the role of Peter Cushing, which was reprised by using deepfake technology in the 2016 movie Rogue One: A Star Wars Story. So that is one of the very notable and positive applications of deepfakes, how you are able to reselect iconic characters into movies and ensure that the storylines are in continuity, which was earlier not that possible because there have been new advances in deepfakes and they look very realistic now. When we think about the negative applications of deepfakes, we were earlier in the preceding slide talking about the positive applications of deepfakes. We have to look at it from a very holistic point of view, the good, the bad, as well as the ugly when it comes to deepfakes. So there are very obvious negative applications of deepfakes besides the ones which all of us have probably seen on the internet when it comes to politics or celebrities or pornography, for example. We also have issues stemming from corporate frauds, money extortion, fake news and fake videos. These are some of the more rather obvious negative applications of deepfakes at this moment. In the sphere of education, deepfakes, they do have a role to play. While it is something which might not come up as a very obvious positive application of deepfakes, it is something I personally believe has a lot of potential. For example, there can be deepfakes can be used to provide assistance in delivering engaging lessons. So this goes beyond the traditional audiovisual means of providing education, especially in countries like India and other developing nations. Such technology can be used to great effect to engage young students. For example, deepfakes, they can assist a teacher in delivering engaging lessons by recreating actual historical scenes. You can in fact even use the likeness of celebrities with consent and agreement, of course, to great effect, so as to enhance education. For example, science is something which is very popular in India. We have a lot of engineers, we have a lot of young kids who grow up to be great engineers, but there are many who might not be very motivated at a very young age. So just imagine if you were to give them lectures and by using likeness of famous people like Bill Nye the Science Guy, who we all see on social media, that might just increase the level of engagement, especially for young kids. And we can also use such technology to bring historical figures to life. If someone is having, say, a class or a lecture on someone like Abraham Lincoln, it might be very useful to use deepfake technology to create more engaging lessons that way. So yes, there are indeed positive applications of deepfakes in the education industry. Art and gaming is something which is a bit more controversial, as reflected upon by the previous panel in this event. Ownership is something which has seen a lot of debate. But anyways, besides ownership of AI generated works, there are certain there is certainly a lot of potential in the world of art. There was recently a very interesting development just a few years back. So a person called Jason Allen, so he had created an artwork in the US and it had won the first prize. However, to the surprise and shock of the others, later on when it was revealed that it was created synthetically, there was a lot of furor over that, but the prize was still upheld. So yes, in the world of art as well, we see a lot of applications for deepfakes. And this is in fact a realm of opportunity when it comes to art. Gaming is another thing which, if you were to think of it as a subset of art, so there are a lot of applications in the gaming industry as well, because AI generated graphics and imagery, they can speed up game development in the industry by a huge margin. So recently I believe NVIDIA, they had demonstrated that gaming environment can be created by deepfakes, and they have tried to marry it with very high level VFX technology, and the output has been staggering to say the least. In fact, for games in the gaming industry, many times in most games, in high budget games, they require the likeness of celebrities, the voices of celebrities, and it is something which is very cumbersome. So imagine if in such a scenario, if by using proper agreements and with consent, rather than say a famous actor like Brad Pitt lending his likeness, his voice to a game, if that can be replicated by using deepfake technology, that would not only save time for the celebrity, but a trade-off may be that the gaming company, they may have to pay a lesser quantum of royalty because you're not taking up that much time with the celebrity. So that is something which can be mutually beneficial to both parties involved.
Any court cases so far?
Any court cases regarding deepfakes? Yes, we will certainly be reflecting upon that. As I'm sure, especially the crowd from India, they must have heard the news about cases involving famous Indian actors like Jackie Shroff, for example. So there have indeed been cases regarding deepfakes.
On deepfake?
Sorry?
On deepfake?
On deepfake, yes. I am sure if you must have seen in the news in the last couple of days, Anantamani. So interview was deepfake and it was circulated widely on social media. So that will also be taken down. So yeah, there are indeed cases regarding deepfakes in India. One positive application of deepfakes when it comes to the realm of privacy is identity masking. So deepfakes, they can be used to mask the identity of people and protect their voices and faces. For example, in an oppressive regime, it's very difficult to express yourself in a very oppressive regime when you know that there might be persecution followed by the views expressed on social media. So yes, identity masking is something which people are using deepfakes for. People also create avatars or meta-identities and they devise new ways for self-expression by using deepfake technologies. And also it's not just for privacy concerns. So deepfakes, they can also offer people a way of self-expression which they are not comfortable with. Many people are not comfortable in showing their faces. You know, there are many people who are not comfortable coming to a stage, coming to an event and just saying what they have to say. So there have been instances where people have utilized such AI technology to great effect to overcome their disabilities. Public safety also has a nexus with deepfakes. Text-to-speech models, it can help podcasters create synthetic audio. For example, when we talk about digital reconstruction, such processes can be sped up by using podcasters' voices. So this is something which can be of great help for celebrities who are dabbling in podcasts. So this is just one of the few positive applications of deepfakes. More than that, we can also use the example of influencers and celebrities who can use deepfakes to broaden their reach and expand their audience. A brand or a celebrity, they can reach a very large, rather staggering number of customers with targeted and personalized messaging by using AI-generated technology. For example, AI-generated deepfakes and digital models are also becoming a trend in the fashion and brand marketing realm right now. Also, it might have applications when it comes to criminal laws, when it comes to reconstructing a crime scene. So this is something also which people in some countries, they have in instances, they are using deepfake technology to actually help solve crimes. So yes, besides the obvious negative implications of deepfakes like politics, there are certainly notable positive applications of such software. Innovation, when we talk about intellectual property, innovation is probably the word which first comes to mind. We talk about terms like novelty, originality. So innovation is something which is deeply rooted in the world of intellectual property. So as such, when we were to think about positive applications of deepfakes, it goes without saying that innovation has a rather important role to play. In many industries, for example, data and AI, they are assisting with digital transformation and automation. And deepfakes have certainly helped a lot in that. So it is also gaining traction as a way to engage customers and deliver value at a substantially lower cost. I'm sure many of you, especially the crowd from India, in 2022, you must have come across an advertisement of Pepsi, where they had used the deepfake technology to create an iconic advertisement portraying a younger self of the famous Bollywood actor Mr. Salman Khan. You know, they were able to portray the likeness of the actor from say 20 years ago and simultaneously use that for an advertisement purposes. So yeah, such applications when it comes to branding and endorsements is certainly there for the taking. In fact, not just for celebrities. For example, I had recently come across an example that Reuters, they had demonstrated an AI-generated deepfake presenter and which was used for providing news regarding sports summaries. And one of the lesser known applications, when you think about innovations and how deepfakes are deeply entrenched in innovation is that they are also using to turn industries like fashion into something which is more accessible to regular people. For instance, deepfakes, they can help turn customers and turn into models themselves. in the retail industry, it can be of great help when you are doing things like shopping, and if you can utilize deepfake technique to just, accurately have an approximation of how the particular piece of apparel would look on a person by using deepfake technology. So that is something which is of great potential, and brands are indeed looking into it, but I believe that there is a large scope of utilization in the fashion industry for deepfakes in a very positive manner. Continuing on the same vein, personal branding is something which is also seeing a lot of traction. We have seen a lot of influencers use it, we have seen a lot of celebrities use it, we see sports persons using deepfakes, we see even big organizations like Adidas using deepfakes. Recently, people who watch football or soccer, they must have seen a very iconic advertisement just 2 years ago for the World Cup which was held in Qatar. So they had used the likeness of footballers like Ronaldinho and Ronaldo who had retired to recreate an advertisement which was very popular back in the late 90s, I believe. But however, these players being retired, they were not able to do the stunts and perform at the same level for the advertisements. They were able to use deepfake technology to replicate such advertisements. Suitability to the movie industry. Now, this is where it gets a bit more mainstream, if I may say so. So, using deepfake technology to create a look for an actor in pre-production is something which is very useful. Because when you look at the casting process for movies, when the production team, when the directors, when they're looking at various, at a large list of actors to see who they can actually engage for their movie, deepfakes can certainly step in and help to streamline the process. You don't need to engage 10 actors, you don't need to call 10 actors and give long drawn out auditions. If you can replicate that with deepfakes and just see who looks good for the role. So the technology, such technology, it can be used for character conceptualization also. So this is something which can indeed be explored by the movie industry. And you also get to know, have a fair idea about how the end product, how a certain actor and actress will actually turn out in certain costumes, rather than actually having them over to the studio and having them give auditions. If this is there are certain things which can be automated, certain things which can be replicated using deepfake technology, which not only saves time but also valuable, money that way. Endorsements is something which is, in fact, I would say something which is very important to deepfakes, because all of us have probably seen AI generated or deepfake related endorsements in our respective countries. In India, we have seen many such advertisements. I'm not sure if in Turkey there are a lot of advertisements or endorsements which are created by using deepfake technology, and that is something I was obviously, after the session, be very interested to discuss with my colleagues from Turkey, how deepfakes are being used to make endorsements, and how deepfakes are being used to make advertisements in the country.
Yeah. So, is it a genuine one or it's a fake? Is it a genuine one by the Cadbury company or by somebody else?
No, it was a genuine one. So brands are indeed utilizing deepfake technology to create their own advertisements by using consent of celebrities. For example,
they can have the original when they are making payment to Shahrukh Khan.
Yeah, they're paying royalty for that.
So even for so do they get any discount or instead of original?
Yeah, a very interesting point to touch upon, sir. So if you were to replicate, if you are able to actually provide the likeness of a celebrity like Shah Rukh Khan for creating advertisements, I personally believe, at least hypothetically, the amount of royalty, the remuneration which is supposed to be given to celebrities, that may indeed be lower, because you're not really having the celebrity expend as much time. If Cadbury were to make an advertisement using someone as famous and as expensive as Shah Rukh Khan, so rather than an actor like him spending a couple of days or a whole week in shooting just to make an advertisement, if you can replace that with a deep fake, with proper agreements and consent in place, then yes, I do believe that the remuneration would also be lower for that, because it saves time.
So this is a kind of license granted by the original celebrities to the
Certainly.
at a much lower price.
Certainly, because it goes both ways. Such a relationship when it comes to IP licensing, when it comes to image licensing. Yes, because the amount of investment made by the celebrities is also comparatively lower that way. So if Cadbury were to create an advertisement by using deepfake technology and they do not require his presence for many hours and hours at end, it is certainly helpful for both parties. So there is potential, yes. While there are definitely positive applications, and I hope that over the preceding few slides I was able to successfully reflect upon a few positive uses of deepfake technologies, this presentation would be incomplete if I were to not reflect upon the negative and the dangerous deepfake applications as well. Unfortunately for us, the word, the term, the concept of deepfakes themselves, they remain portrayed in a very negative light and will probably continue doing so for the foreseeable future. Besides obvious, social issues such as political manipulation, misinformation, there are also concerns regarding how deepfakes might have impact on businesses, how they might have concerns regarding the privacy of people. So deepfakes, they have already disrupted political landscapes by showing political figures saying or doing things they never did. I remember just discussing earlier in the morning with one of my colleagues from this event about how deepfakes have been used to great effect. So recently, as we are all aware, a war has been going on between Russia and Ukraine. It's been a rather long time for that. So there was a very infamous deepfake involving the President Volodymyr Zelensky, wherein he asked the army to cease fighting. So you can see how such a video can have such a broad impact on the masses. So this not only undermines the trust in political leaders, but it also has the potential to change public opinion, and it can also change the course of wars if it is not controlled. In fact, when we talk about losses to the industry, thank you for that. So when we talk about business losses to the industry, in 2020, there was a study conducted by the cybersecurity firm CHEQ or SHEC that it costs billions of dollars to the industry. For example, the amount which was quoted was almost $78 billion worth of losses due to negative applications of deepfakes. So besides the political ramifications, we have corporate frauds, or we have extortions, we have false news. So in a list of such things, it's probably corporate frauds, which is something which we do not really see a lot. We do not associate corporate frauds with deepfakes. Recently there was a case in the US, I believe it was in the UK, that there was a deepfake call made by using the very authentic voice of a CEO of a company, and the company was duped into paying about around $200,000. So yes, deepfakes can be used to manipulate even businesses. As I mentioned earlier, I would probably not reflect upon aspects such as ownership of works created by AI, as that has already been covered with the previous panel. So if we were to briefly talk about the outlook of deepfakes in India, it is at the outset, it is important to clarify that there is no specific law to address deepfakes and deepfake related crimes in India. That said, as I mentioned earlier during an answer to a question as well, we indeed have cases in India regarding deepfakes, and yes, there are other laws which courts to rely on. There are other laws which hypothetically we as lawyers, if we ever get a celebrity client having a case regarding deepfakes, we can use. We have laws like the IT Act, we have laws like the Indian Penal Code, which has provisions related to cybercrime, which can be relied upon. Needless to say, copyright and personality rights, they remain the backbone of deepfake related laws in probably any country, not just India. So there are various sections in the country which, for the sake of brevity, I will not expand upon, but certainly we have very famous sections like 66 C, D and E of the IT Act. There was also a draft information technology or intermediary guideline rules which were of much debate and which can certainly have applications in India when it comes to tackling deepfakes. As for the question that you just asked, there have indeed been a few cases of deepfakes in India. So if we had more time, I can probably continue upon this and explain in detail about the case of the famous actor Jackie Shroff, wherein people were utilizing deepfakes of his. But the court, even in the absence of any specific statute for deepfakes, they did provide relief to the actor. The rights which were asserted were personality rights, copyrights, common law rights, and in this specific case, there was a trademark angle as well. Biro, which is like the catchphrase, a very famous catchphrase of this actor. So it was an amalgamation of many things which was used to rely upon in this case, but eventually relief was indeed granted to the actor. So in conclusion, I just hope that one key takeaway from this presentation can be that while there are indeed very, very negative connotations, very harmful applications of deepfakes, one must not forget that there are very positive applications as well, and we as intellectual property lawyers, it is our duty to see how we can more engage into dialogue about this, how we can bring it up in lobbying groups, how we can have a very positive dialogue about how software can be utilized for positive applications. And thank you so much for hearing me out, and I really hope that you had a very enlightening experience in this presentation, and please feel free to ask any questions. Time permits.